Good morning and welcome. Delighted to have all of you here on this wonderful September day. As Ernie Banks would say, it's a great day to play two. I can see everybody say, who is Ernie Banks? This is a sellout, which just shows the size of the venue matters. So thank you all for being here on this very important topic. This city has been blessed over the last decade with an extraordinary amount of economic development, and this newest initiative that the mayor is leading is another example of that. We're delighted to have an opportunity to have a presentation both by the mayor and Tom Deller, and then a panel discussion on this initiative. First, let me thank the Bushnell for hosting us this morning, and just call your attention to the fact that Avita will be here at the end of the month as part of the Broadway series. Certainly want to thank Phoenix for being our corporate sponsor and acknowledge this company as being one of our original leadership investors. Company traces its lineage back to 1851, providing products and services to meet the financial needs of middle-income and mass affluent markets across the country. We're delighted to our partnership with Jim Weir and Bonnie Malley and Jane Driscoll, and everyone over there is tremendous. We thank Bonnie for being here this morning, and she'll be up here shortly. I want to thank our media sponsors, and for those of you who have not followed this, obviously we have, in effect now, two media sponsors this morning, the Hartford Current Media Group and the Fox Connecticut Media Group. Chris Geiger, who heads the latter, will be introduced at a future Rising Star Breakfast. We're delighted with that, and Nancy Meyer is here this morning. If you haven't seen her, it is her birthday, her 21st, so please wish her happy birthday. It's now my pleasure to introduce Bonnie Malley, who in turn will introduce the mayor for some introductory remarks on the Downtown North Development Initiative. Let me just say that Bonnie has been a great friend to the Alliance over a number of years. She's been on our board for the last several. She's agreed to chair the board next year. The leadership that she provides at IQWIL and at the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving is second to none. She is truly one of the outstanding executives here in this region, and we're very fortunate to count her as a friend. Please welcome to the podium Bonnie Malley, the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer.
Okay, he's going to take it all back when I'm done because I left my notes on my desk last night, so I apologize. This is either going to be really short or really long. Two quick things. Everyone who's ever heard me talk says I need to slow down, but when you follow Oz, it gives you a chance to actually just go for it. So I'm going to go real quick. I was walking in Hartford. I've been spending a lot of time walking in Hartford, 10,000 steps a day at the Phoenix Fitness Challenge, and it's just amazing how many visions are coming to life, and you just have to walk around to really be in wonder, quite frankly. Oz mentioned a few of them, whether it's the XL Center renovation, Yukon and the work that they're doing on their building. Front Street is alive. It's alive and well on a Sunday night, I can attest from hanging out with some wonderful people on Sunday night. And the iQuilt vision is coming to life. I know many of you might be cursing it right now if you're driving around Bushnell Park, and I apologize for that, but walk, and you're going to soon understand that you're going to be able to walk from the north end of Bushnell Park all the way to the riverfront on a green walk. So everything is coming to life. Visions do come true. Visions are really, really important. And I am extremely proud to be representing a company who has been part of Hartford's development vision for over 160 years. It's been a Hartford-based employer. The development roots tie back to the 60s when the Phoenix built its flagship boat building. If you fast forward into the 90s and early 2000s, the company participated in the vision of what's now Adrian's Landing in Front Street, and also donated the land that the Science Center sits on. And then if you just look back to last year, we actually renovated our plaza, created an extension of the Green Walk, which was the first privately funded piece of the quilt for the iQuilt plan. So I think my message today is everything starts with a vision, and I can't believe how excited that we are to be sponsoring this particular breakfast, because what we're going to be talking about is a vision, and a vision around a really important component of the city, which is Downtown North. So I have the pleasure of introducing somebody who's really integral to this vision, has been wanting the development of this particular section of Hartford to come alive, and it's my pleasure to introduce the mayor, Mayor Pedro Segarra.
Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you for your great leadership of working with the different stakeholders in making the iQuilt vision a reality, and it's becoming each and every day closer and closer to what we foresee to be a beautiful project that ties our city, but most importantly, our communities together. So thank you for that. And us, thank you, and thank you. This reminds me of my, you know, I took the bar exam a couple of years ago, about 35 years ago at the New Haven Plaza Hotel. And during the bar exam, there were actually jackhammers. For any of you who took the bar exam in February of 1986, there were jackhammers going on. It must have worked in my favor because I ended up passing on the first sitting. So I'm very excited about the announcement of all the new corporations that have been joining up and signing up either as partners or supporters of the Metro Hartford Alliance. I know that years ago, the conversation at the Metro Hartford Alliance was concerned about different businesses that were pretty much packing and heading towards elsewhere. And it's great to see that the portfolio of businesses that are signing up and joining up are ever increasing. And I think that that's a sign of what we are trying to accomplish here, which is to strengthen our city, strengthen the economy, and strengthen our base. At the U.S. Conference of Mayors last annual meeting, we were very surprised to see the actual growth of the metro regions around the United States. Cities are growing, most of them are, and most of them are expanding their metro economy. So it's no coincidence that we have an opportunity during these times to continue to work very hard to increase the metro economy, but more importantly, to grow our city. We are a small city, 18 square miles, but we need to exploit each and every opportunity that we have in order to make sure that we're making productive use of all of our spaces. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for gathering here so early in the morning. I trust that each of you have at least had one cup of coffee. I know that I was very happy this morning because I actually got a name label that actually sticks to my suit. And then I was relieved of it because they said that it wasn't good for photos. So we are on the cusp of some great opportunity for our great city of Hartford. Something that I think can transform and change our city forever. Today we're going to hear on an update on this project, which was announced 3 months ago. Now, even though this project was announced 3 months ago, this is the culmination, I think, of 3 years of work in which we have been engaged with the Urban Land Institute and the Mayor's Institute for Design and other organizations that are very prestigious and that have shown us the way, or at least cleared up our vision in terms of our need to connect our city and connect our communities. And in the 3 months that this project has been announced, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of water cooler chats, or as we refer to it in Spanish, bochinche. Remember that word, bochinche? Today we're here to basically try to help put out the facts and help clarify some of the discussion around the building of what is to be Downtown North. We're going to hear a presentation about Downtown North and our vision for this neighborhood, and that is critical. It's critical to continue to have this conversation. You will hear why we have chosen Downtown Dono Hartford as the developer for this neighborhood. You will hear from them directly as to their interest in developing this portion of the city of Hartford. I want to applaud them because they have shown a willingness to believe in our city, to believe in Hartford. And as an optimist, I want to be surrounded by those who believe in our great city and moving our city forward, and most importantly, investing in our city. So you're going to hear a little bit about the framework or the financial structure. You will hear a range of numbers as to how this could be paid for and what the city could potentially pay out as we move forward with this project. And you're certainly going to hear about why this project is important and how, with your support, this project could even be better as we rewrite the history of Hartford's development. Now, some of you here will not hear the very granular details, some of which are still being negotiated. Obviously, we're not going to negotiate the deal or the rest of the deal in front of all of you here today. But I think that some people often complain about how the city of Hartford moves too slow. And I think that for years, initially, when I was involved in city government, that's what you would constantly hear, how the city moves very, very slow. So I think that working quick to make things happen is a good thing. You can't have it both ways, and I am one that likes to move with all deliberate speed, understanding that our community has a tradition of public participation that needs to be honored, and that we really need to be very careful about ensuring that the folks who are to be the beneficiaries of this effort, which is one of our most economically challenged communities in the cities with unemployment and many challenges, are the primary beneficiaries of what we are intending to do. What this is about us fulfilling our potential. For way too long, as mayor, I hear many that say that, oh, this city has a lot of potential. And, you know, I'm beyond that. I'm more now about maximizing and exploiting all the opportunities that we can muster in order to fulfill our aspirations, and not just thinking about potential as some future sort of wait-and-see attitude that never comes to fruition. So what I'm declaring today basically is that I am over it. I am over it just talking about potential, that our time is here, our time has come, we can see it, we can feel it, we can sense it all around us in everything that is going on. And as we do that, we need to continue to muster our energies, our collective energies, to create that glue that brings us together. I'm from New York City. I wasn't, you know, I was a real baseball person. No offense, Josh, wherever you are, Josh. I was a real baseball fan, and when I left New York City, I sort of didn't get into baseball as much, but I do recall it from my days as a youngster in the South Bronx, that one of the things that brought New Yorkers together and brought our communities together was baseball. So in the last 18 months, we've seen an incredible boom in the city. You see the cranes, as Bonnie has mentioned. You see the orange cones and the little traffic challenges that we have, but all good. We've seen some improvements going on at Kinney Park and Goodwin Park. You've seen improvements on Wethersfield Avenue, downtown behind the old State House. And we're doing our best to work with our partners to put up as quickly as possible over 1,000 units of housing in our city. And this did not happen by some miracle. This is the result of many people working collaboratively and working hard to decrease the red tape, and also to make sure that things happen and that investments are made in critical areas. As today you see that one of the things that we're discussing today that can really bring us closer towards our future. Each and every budget cycle, I, as mayor, and the city council struggles with very difficult and challenging budgets. Each year we have to trim off more and more of our staffing, and every so often things happen that are the direct consequence of having to forego a proper level of staffing. So what we need is not a secret. We need more revenue. We need more customers. We need more volume. We need more people knowing what a great city this is, and to be in a situation where they can partake in all the social, cultural, and sporting venues that we can offer. I took a risk when I proposed this ballpark. I knew that I was taking a risk. But I also know that in the past, some of the things that I've proffered up from this podium in previous breakfasts, with your support and your help, have come to fruition, whether it's UConn, whether it's IQUIL, whether it's different things that we have presented. Working together and with your support, we can make this happen. The ballpark has been the catalyst that we wanted for this particular region. The bottom line is that this particular area and this particular land, it is more valuable now than it was 3 months ago, and we're one step closer to the creation of a new neighborhood, and that is a good thing for our city. It'll mean not only just supporting the many businesses that surround these parcels in terms of making sure that they get some gravitational pull from the over 500,000 people that would visit the stadium, but it also means adding new businesses and new jobs to our inventory. So In the process, we can also create a supermarket to meet the needs of what has been described as a food desert. And over the past 2 years, we've been working very hard to make sure that all these things happen. We want more people to come, live, work, play, watch sports, entertain themselves in our great capital city. And the more of that we do, and the more that we do to accomplish this, the better off that we will be. For too long, these parcels of land have separated our North Hartford community from the downtown. For too long, these parcels have been underutilized or not utilized. They are blight at their worst, and they're underutilized. We have a plan. Since my day on City Council, I've listened to many residents say that we need to build our community, and this definitely addresses that. So we need to move forward. We need to forge ahead, and I hope that all of you will be part of this great discussion. You know, another aspect is we are increasing our graduation rates in our city from 2010, I believe, or 2009, to today. The graduation rate has risen from about 29–30% to 71%. What city, what city are we building for those young students who are increasingly heading off to college? What opportunities are we creating in our city for housing, for entertainment, so that they won't be lured to stay in other cities that they often go to for college? And how can we strengthen this city so that it is appealing to have our youth come back here, work for our corporations, work for our institutions, and create a very strong city? No matter what has happened in the past, no matter what failures we have encountered or challenges, let's learn from those situations, and let's make sure that we use that information to make sure that we move forward, but more importantly, that we move forward together for the interest of our great residents and to fulfill the aspirations of what I think is on its way to becoming one of the best capital cities in the United States. Thank you, and I look forward to the discussion.
I'm going to turn this over to Tom Deller, who's the Director of Development Services here in the city, to give an overview of the project in a little more detail than the mayor covered, and then we'll go on to the panel discussion. So, Tom, welcome. We're delighted you're here and look forward to your comments.
Good morning. I have to say that drilling kept reminding me that I got to go see the dentist, but I'll make that appointment later. So, you know, when I first arrived here a few years ago, the mayor said to me, there's 6 things I want you to get done. And the mayor's tired of hearing the story. And in that first meeting, he gave me a list of 25 things, and I said, well, I thought you said it was 6. He says, well, that's only the first 4. One of those most important things was to address the area between downtown and the Clay Arsenal neighborhood, to address the wasteland that has been there for many years, for over 30 years of no activity, no development. And what we did is we sat down and started creating that vision, working with the people to understand what we could achieve in downtown North and how we could make things happen. One of the first sketches, these are moving faster than me, so I guess they want me to talk fast. One of the first ideas was to look at not only downtown North, which is at the top of the slide, but also to look at downtown West and the downtown as a whole to think about how we could fill things in, how we could take those vacant parking lots and make a difference in our city by creating housing and other retail. And as we did that, we tried to think about other changes that could happen. So now I'll go like this, and you can move to the next slide. I don't have control. Oh, I'm supposed to go like this. Okay, I got it. So here we have that same vision, but we have a ballpark in it. And when we were working with our consultants, we basically said to them, look, we have to understand the potential of our city. We have to understand potential changes that could happen. What if, you know, we had to move the XL Center, which we really don't want to move? What if we had to do a variety of different things? How can we fit that all in? And one of the things we knew from the 2006-2000 study that was done on the XL Center was that the size of that facility would have to close a variety of streets, and that we didn't really want that in downtown North. Whatever was going to happen, we wanted to fit into the blocks that existed. And so we studied, and we found some areas that the XL Center could go. But as we looked at downtown North, we came to realize that one of the biggest issues we have in Hartford is that you can work here, but there isn't a lot to do downtown. There isn't a lot of entertainment. And economic development today in most cities revolves around creating that life, that place to play, that place to have fun. And so we started looking at what we can do and how we can change things and how we can make things different. When we plopped the ballpark on the lot at the corner of Trumbull and Main, we said, well, we have a housing characteristic, the density that we think we can build, that we can sustain, and where should we put that? And so we looked at the land on Market Street, and you can see that little blow-up of how we've tried to understand how we can make different uses of the variety of properties we have in this neighborhood. This is about creating connectivity. This is about creating a neighborhood, a new opportunity for the people of Hartford, a new opportunity for others to come in, a new place to work and to play. And so we're trying to understand how to put this all together. And then we were approached by the Rockettes, and we started thinking about how this ballpark became an integral piece of what we're trying to achieve. So how do we move forward? Well, once we reached agreement with the Rockettes, we decided that we needed to think about how we can create the whole neighborhood. This wasn't just about a ball field. This was about change. This was about completing this neighborhood. So we came up with the idea of a public-private partnership. We identified the land that we either owned or had under control, and this map shows them all. Parcel A is where the ballpark is proposed. The other parcels are areas that we wanted to see developed. And we put out a proposal for downtown North. But in doing that, we spent a lot of time thinking about the ballpark and why the ballpark was that spark that would make a difference. And here, we went and looked around at cities, and Dayton was a good example of a city that was very successful in taking a ballpark and using it to revitalize their neighborhood. And so we put some basic comparisons here. You look at the size of our population, the metropolitan statistical area, the median family income. And we're a fairly large metropolitan area without a large professional sports team. Yes, we have the hockey team here, and I often joke that we have the professional basketball team here with UConn, both teams. But we didn't have other sports, and we looked at a way that we could move things along. And in Dayton, they were able to take a blighted and underused area, create a ballpark, and create lots of growth and experience around it, new housing, new jobs, new retail, and other things, and to create a whole series of neighborhoods. And so we looked at the ballpark as the catalyst that would help us achieve some of this entrepreneurial space, some of these shops and retail and other excitements. And when we kept moving forward, we said we had to use the ballpark as the catalyst to create this neighborhood. We can skip on to the next one. So what are we doing? What did we do? We put out an RFP for a public-private partnership. And in that, we demanded that there be a certain development schedule to complete the development of the rest of the property. We asked that there be a supermarket included so that we can make sure that we address the needs, the food needs of the people in the city of Hartford. So we put together this proposal asking for someone to come in and take the cost and expenditure of building the ballpark and putting it on the private side, not on the government side, that we figure out a way to make development happen that we could achieve all the different things we wanted to achieve in this neighborhood in a reasonable time period. So we put out the RFP. We got 3 proposals, and one was from a group called Dono Hartford LLC, a partnership between CenterPlan and Leland Alliance to develop downtown North. And here's their schematic plan. Now, I will tell you that since we received these proposals on the 1st of August to now, there have been rather extensive discussions, negotiations, modifications, and I have no doubt that they will continue as we continue to move forward with this. But what we see here is a rather comprehensive development that not only includes the property that the city of Hartford owns or has under control, but also the old data center that was last used by the Bank of America down on Market Street. As you can see, they've added that there as parcel G. They added that to our map to say, let's do a comprehensive development here. And here's some brief numbers about what we're looking at. You can see the number of residential units, 673, the square feet of retail, office space. And this plan will modify as based on market conditions. But this is the baseline that we're looking at. This is the baseline that we're looking to make things happen in our city and downtown North. So we're going to run through a few images. I'm going to talk a little bit about the thought process and where we are in negotiations. So there are resolutions before the City Council, and those resolutions will be going to public hearing on the 17th, and that's at the Parker Memorial in the north end of Hartford. And as part of that, we're going to be discussing how this development happens and how we move it forward. It is our plans and our intent, the mayor has made this very clear, that the development that happens has to generate an income stream that allows us to pay the cost of this project. The city's commitment at this time is only for the public streets and improvements that are in our capital improvement plan that were supposed to be achieved regardless of the ballpark. What we're trying to do is create a pedestrian-friendly area, an area where traffic works, but really follows the principles of the I-Quilt by narrowing down the streets, making greater sidewalks, putting in bike paths so that people can move and connect easily from downtown to the Clay Arsenal neighborhood in Upper Albany. What we're trying to do is create a neighborhood that really is conducive to everyone. So the city's commitment of capital dollars is going to happen because those road improvements are slated to happen. And what we're going to do is the city is going to lease back the private development, and we have the ballpark, and then we will sublease it to the Rockcats for operation. We are right now coming up with final dollar numbers to understand how that payment gets made, and we'll have a series of proposals that we'll be presenting to the mayor in the next day or two. And those will be, then we'll sit down with the city council and explain how that happens and how it works. But we're comfortable that we can make this happen and make it happen in a rational way. And one of the last slides I wanted to put up here and I wanted to present is the total amount of investment. We're talking about a $350 million investment in today's dollars. I exaggerated a little, it's 349, but I just rounded up. And it's private money. It's money, it's other people's money being invested in our city to achieve great development that we feel creates a neighborhood for us, connects downtown, with the Clay Arsenal neighborhood, creates a pedestrian-friendly neighborhood, a vital neighborhood, and a neighborhood that takes a piece of property that has been vacant and underutilized for 30 years and makes it an asset for our city. Thank you.
Tom, thank you very, very much for that succinct and informative overview. We greatly appreciate it. So we're going to transition now to a panel discussion, and just in the interest of time, I'll make a couple of comments. Maybe I could ask Dennis and the panelists just to come up and take a seat here, and we'll make that transition. We'll make the introductions here shortly. I just want to emphasize the September 17th public hearing that Tom mentioned, and just for everyone's background here, many of you are investors of ours. We did take a preliminary position on the initial announcement, and we will take a position again as we get closer to September 17th. The two things that are very critical to us and to many of you who have businesses here in the city are ensuring, as Tom mentioned, that this is an investment of private money, and what we're particularly interested in is the impact that this project will have on both immediate and long-term growth in the grand list. This is a grand list that, as many of you know, has shrunk dramatically over the last 20 years and one that we definitely need to turn around. This project has the potential to do that, and we want to make sure we understand it. At the same time, that it have a positive impact on what is the albatross of our mill rate here in the city that has such a discouragement on private sector investment without public support. So this is an initiative that we're very eager to be supportive of along those lines to make sure that this city not only has this project going forward, but it lays the groundwork for even more private sector investment in the a decade ahead. We also want to be sure, as Tom mentioned, that this is done in partnership with CRDA, the entity that Governor Malloy created, the Suzanne Hopgood chairs and Mike Freemuth leads, the Excel Center being one of the things that Tom and the mayor touched on as being critical, that there be a collaboration and a coordination of both a new venue in the ballpark when it comes to reality, but also the importance of the Excel Center to the entertainment inventory we have here. We've got a very distinguished panel. I think that you'll be informed. I've got just about 20 of 9. I'd ask you to be, though I know we said a 9 o'clock cutoff, I'd ask you to give us maybe an extra 5 minutes or so that Dennis can engage the panelists and you can get more information out of it. We did put cards on your chairs. I don't know if they'll have time for questions, but if you have a question, you can certainly write it down and we'll try to get to it, or Dennis will try to get to it. We're very pleased that Dennis House took time out of his very busy schedule to be with us this morning to moderate this panel discussion. Dennis really needs no introduction. I just want to emphasize how vital he has been to Hartford issues over a long period of time. He and his family live in the city. Dennis has been a tremendous champion. He and Kara have been tremendous champions for city livelihood, city entertainment, and have been robust and enthusiastic supporters, so we're delighted he's here. He in turn will introduce the panel. So Dennis, welcome. We're delighted to have you here this morning.
Oz, thank you very much, and it's so great to see such a big crowd, an enthusiastic crowd, people standing in the back, and I know that some folks here are actually tweeting this event. Tom Condon, that must be you. I know the Current's doing it, so thank you very much for all that. So now the whole Twitterverse can follow us as well. We'll begin with introducing the panel, Gordon Scott, whose family owns the landmark bakery, Scott's Bakery. And how long has it been here now?
They opened in 1978.
1978. Yeah. That's awesome. Next, we have David Panagore. He's the former Chief Operating Officer of the City of Hartford. You can always see him at Salute or Trumbull Kitchen. No one supports Hartford businesses like David Panagore. Or Bond. Yves Georges, he is the president of the vice president of development of the Center Plan Development Company, which has been chosen for this development, and Josh Solomon, the owner of the Rock Cats, soon to be the Hartford Rock Cats. And we thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. And Josh, I want to begin with you because a lot of folks, and this may seem like a simple question, but you seem to have a good situation where you are now. So why Hartford? What makes this a better market for minor league baseball than where you are right now?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be here, and thank you all for turning out for this pretty historic time in the city of Hartford. I think hearing Bonnie and the rest of the gang talk about all of the excitement and things that are going on in Hartford, the fact of the matter is that the opportunity to put a brand new ballpark in the downtown of a capital city at the junction of two major highways is a huge opportunity for us. I think we'll be able to both provide our fans with the best there is in minor league baseball, as well as the opportunity to provide our sponsors and all of the programs that we provide and dollars that we donate. I think we'll have a much greater reach being at a location in a ballpark like this in downtown Hartford.
So I'll play devil's advocate for just one moment. Why couldn't the development be done around your current stadium?
I think the situation in New Britain, I think we had fantastic fans. I think our sponsorship was great. I just don't think there really was the opportunity for growth there that there is here in the downtown.
David, you've been in the city for a long time. Give us a little history of the Dono neighborhood, how it became to what it is today, which is basically a sea of parking lots.
It's been a sea of parking lots for, I mean, the first thing that when I came on board with the mayor, the first thing we did was get rid of what is now history, the Bud Ugly building. But prior to that, that building had been campaign headquarters, department store, a series of other activities. And over the course of 25 years, that area just basically emptied completely out. And we had the great joy of the first half of urban renewal, which is clearing land. The problem is the market realities of the city as businesses left meant that there was no longer the ability to sustain development. It cost too much to build in the city that you can't rent for what it costs you to build. And so all of those, the only economic viably use up there in downtown North was parking lots, right? It doesn't cost you anything to pay, really to basically have dirt and park cars for the downtown. So that became the highest and best use over the course of years. You know, bring it fast forward, and hopefully now we're either at a moment where we're able to sustain it with a ballpark and development. But at the same time, if you look across the city, all of our other projects in the city have required subsidies to make it happen. So I think we're really at the moment of figuring out whether this city crosses the threshold and you don't need to do that for the development, or we're one step back. I know that the Center Plan's down in New Haven, and New Haven is right now crossing that threshold, where that first half of urban renewal that created highways and parking lots is now changing and creating buildings without subsidy, without the need of government support to be able to make development happen. That's where we are, I think, today, and where we've been.
You know, Gordon, as David pointed out, there has been sort of a huge lack of development north of the highway for decades now.
Right.
What are folks in that neighborhood saying about what they would like to see in comparison with their hopes and dreams over the years?
Well, for me as a merchant and part of the Upper Albany Merchants Association, I speak from the perspective of that, from that lens. There's been a lot of things happening over the last several years in Upper Albany. There's the YMCA, there is the Connecticut Health Services, CHS. There's a new library right on the corner of Blue Hills Avenue and Albany Avenue. And folks are coming in and looking in at Albany Avenue in a new way than they have been before. We've got a new Fitchman Eye Care Center at the most western end of our neighborhood, and there seems to be a new energy of growth. One of the things that we expect is, for example, there's a DOT project about $28 million to rebuild Albany Avenue, have more sidewalk space, the same sort of bump out at the curbs, so that you have less traffic, better access through foot traffic, and sort of narrowing the roads to make it a bit safer for pedestrians along the avenue. So there's some good things happening, and we really look forward to the connection now between downtown and the Upper Albany neighborhood.
I want to move on to Yves Georges. When you first heard about this possibility to invest in the city of Hartford and create this whole neighborhood, you obviously came here, checked out the site. What went through your mind as you did that?
Well, the word I will use is excitement, but when we first heard about this particular opportunity, this was not the first time we became interested in Hartford. We've been trying to invest and looking for opportunities to do projects in Hartford for the better part of the last 2-3 years. And so, you asked the reason why are we interested in Hartford. It's really because we see Hartford as a glass half full and filling. Hartford is at a tipping point, and that kind of echoes a lot of the sentiments that you've heard throughout the discussion today, where there's investment happening. Retail is beginning to come in. There's actually residential investment actually taking place in the city. A baseball stadium, a baseball team is interested in locating in Hartford. You have all these bones, all these things bubbling around in Hartford, and it's just a matter of time before that comes together and gels into something that's really special. And so when we see that picture of Hartford, we see opportunity. And as real estate developers, it's our job, it's our responsibility. For us to be successful, we have to be ahead, right? We have to try to see the vision before others see it, and we have to move on it. And so we kind of got together, and there were a lot of folks who doubted us, who said, Center Plan, Leyland, why do you guys believe in Hartford? We're not sure. And we said, we're not either. But we dived a little deeper, right? So we brought in a group, RCL Co., which is a nationally renowned market firm. And we said, you know what, we think there's something here in Hartford, but let's do a smell test. Why don't you guys take an independent look and tell us what you think? And they came back and very strongly and enthusiastically corroborated all of our thoughts and philosophies. And the word that they used was the word that I used, which was tipping point. They said Hartford is almost there. And the analogy that I thought of last night as I was thinking about this is, in entrepreneurship, they think of the business process as very difficult in the beginning, and then it begins to self-perpetuate. It's like moving a rock downhill. When you're trying to push that rock, it's very difficult. You're exerting a lot of energy, the rock's not moving. You exert more energy, the rock begins to budge. You exert more energy, that rock begins to roll slowly. And then the rock rolls faster, and then it's going downhill and it's rolling without you even touching it. I feel like the Hartford rock is trembling right now. And if we can just continue to push it, continue to kind of overcome challenges, continue to move that rock downhill, some special things can happen here. And that's kind of how I think of Hartford. There's a lot of work to be done, a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulty, a lot of things that we'll have to work through. But if we get there, I think the vision could be special.
That's in just about every development project we hear about, we always hear those two words, housing and retail. We've seen the sketches, but walk us through the neighborhood when it's all done, what it will look like.
Sure.
What we'll see.
You saw some of it, but the theme of what we're talking about here is creating a place. And when we're talking about the project, I hear a lot of talk about ballpark, but I don't hear talk about neighborhood. And I think that's what we have to kind of change the orientation of the conversation, because the ballpark is one component of a much more comprehensive, much more complex, project that we're delivering. You're talking about 675 plus units of residential. That number will go to 1,000 by the time we're done. You're talking about 140,000 square feet of retail with the grocery store that the neighborhood has desperately been requiring and demanding. You're talking about possible office space, but more importantly, a place that's lifestyle, that's exciting, that's mixed use, that will make people proud of Hartford and make people who are not in Hartford want to be in Hartford. So, I think, we can't pigeonhole the conversation into one particular aspect. Now, the ballpark is critical to allowing the balance of that to take place. Without the ballpark, I don't know that you get the place. But we're really talking about creating a neighborhood here in a place. I think that's important.
Josh, now that you're coming to the city, you've obviously envisioned what a certain night would look like. Let's walk us through a Tuesday night in the city of Hartford. What will the impact be economically and otherwise to the city?
Sure. I think what we'll see is people not leaving the city after work. I think that we'll see people stopping over before the ballpark, picking up a beef patty at Gordon's Spot, having a cold hooker beer, and then just enjoying, family-friendly, affordable entertainment in their hometown. And I think that really, that vision becomes a catalyst for more people wanting to live here, less millennials saying, you know what, there's not enough going on for me to stay. So more of an employment base for these folks to pull from. I agree with your analogy about a rock rolling downhill, and I think it's just very exciting to be a part of this plan and seeing it evolve. I think great things for the city of Hartford.
When we talk about the economic impact, I know when we first saw that study, some were skeptical that 200 hotel rooms would be taken every night. Is that accurate?
I don't know how many people will stay at hotels or not. I know I certainly will, but I can't speak to that analysis. I think that over time, the amount of growth that will come from this spark will provide a tremendous economic benefit for the city long term. And I think it's one of those things that you can't really quantify today, the impact that we'll have. I think what you can do is look at the cities, the great cities in our country, and they have institutions like this. And when you look in an area of Hartford that's been neglected for so long, and you see the impact that it's going to have on that neighborhood, the people who live in that neighborhood. I had a woman at our last hearing come up to me and say, you know what, my kids are going to grow up in a different Hartford than I saw. And to me, that makes it all worthwhile, all the hard work that we're all going through. We're really going to be changing a lot of people's lives.
Many people are wondering about corporate support as well. I know when Detroit wanted to move the Lions from the suburbs into downtown Detroit, Ford footed the bill for much of the stadium, yet they got the other companies to buy a gate. There's the Chrysler gate, the General Motors gate, things like that. What kind of conversations have you had with the power brokers here in the city of Hartford, the CEOs, about perhaps getting involved in this project?
I think we've had great conversations. I think people are very excited about the opportunity to provide a venue like this, not only for entertaining their clients, but for having something exciting for their employees to do after work is a real draw. So I've had a conversation with a number of people who are very excited to be involved in a whole host of different capacities. I think it's probably premature to get into the detail of that, but I think those things will be coming out as our plans evolve.
David, I know for years, working for the city of Hartford, you tried to lure new businesses to the city of Hartford, and it wasn't always an easy task, and I'm sure you were envious when stores opened up in West Hartford and South Windsor and things like that. How will this development change the way that other developers view Hartford?
Well, if it succeeds, it's the complete game changer. But the issue is, the conception is awesome. It's getting through all the million, Woody Allen's 1%, or, whatever the line is, 1% inspiration, but 99% perspiration. This does already show that there can be interest in the city. And clearly the ballpark does leverage developer interest. I have to say for myself, coming into when I was invited in to look at the proposals, I was pleasantly surprised at the quality of the developing teams, and I saw for the first time in Western New England, okay, since I've been back here in 2004, 10 years, letters of actual credit from valid equity investors. These things just aren't seen in the urban core. So that's the reality. But the challenge for the city here on out is making it happen. I think that people are still going to be slightly, some are going to jump in. But look at the 5 years it took to get Front Street going. And then suddenly Front Street is, boom, it's already done. You know, now we got 1 or 2 spaces left. The issue is going to be how it gets built, when it gets built, what the timing is the market ready? So my personal opinion is this is going to start bringing it in. Hooker being interested is a great piece as well. So I think we've got a lot of front-end momentum, but it's going to be how much gets built on what schedule. And, you know, look, I want to be optimistic as everybody around the table, but, you know, your job as an administrator is also to protect people from their own visions. And if we're able to develop the parcels D, E, F, G, right, in rapid time, great. But if not, it will slightly look like Front Street. And then the people are going to have to realize it's going to take 5 or 7 years and not sit around complaining like we all did that Front Street is a dog and no one's ever going to come here and Hartford's lousy. Those are now all memories. The question is how long it's going to take for this development to occur and what its cost is going to have to be to get it to happen. But I think that we've got great front-end interest from legitimate players, which that is new.
Eve, there's a belief sometimes that developers who invest in these situations already have tenants lined up. Since you were chosen as the developer, have you been approached by any companies or any stores, shops, restaurants, things like that to come to be a part of this?
We have at least one really excellent tenant, the Rock Cats.
Okay.
So, you know, we're obviously excited about that. That'll be the first thing that comes out of the ground and the first thing that delivers. But we're getting a lot of interest. We're getting unsolicited phone calls from folks that never thought they would be in Hartford that are excited to be in Hartford. When people found out that we were proposing on the RFP, responding to the RFP, we got unsolicited calls from grocery stores. And so, you know, I think the retailers, the restaurants, the grocers, they understand it. I think they have been exposed to our vision. I think they understand it. I think they're buying into it. And I think we'll be very, very successful, even surprisingly successful.
In terms of the grocery store, is that going to be like a major grocery store like you might see in a suburb or something smaller? Or?
Well, so we're talking to the flags, the different brands of grocery stores that you would see anywhere in the state of Connecticut, so the typical folks. In terms of how it will look, I'm guessing you're asking me physically, will it be a grocery store with a sea of surface parking around it? The answer is unequivocally no. I mean, what we're creating here is a place, a mixed use, new urbanist development, which is the specialty of our partner, Leland Alliance. And so that grocery store will be urban. It will have parking that is likely structured. It will be a non-prototypical box. It'll be a little smaller, but it'll still serve the full complement of groceries that you would expect to get from a full-service shop.
Gordon, I want to ask you, because some of the folks have said that there's a small group of critics, as you know, and they're saying, well, we don't want baseball stadium jobs, we want high-paying jobs to come to our neighborhood instead. What are people saying about the job opportunities that this development presents?
Well, I mean, if you look at our communities, I mean, what sort of jobs are they having now? There's not really a whole lot going on for what's in the community at the moment. So any jobs are good jobs. And I think any development creates the kind of jobs that will support a community. I mean, there will be, I mean, I think that a baseball stadium itself may not present that kind of opportunity, but you know, with supermarkets, there will be managerial positions, there will be, you know, teller positions. So it's all about, you know, increasing the development will create the sort of template or the space for jobs to come into play.
Josh, how do you see the organization, the team, taking part in that neighborhood? Do you think players will live there? Will you live there?
After my wife throws me out, I might live there. I think that they will live there. I think they're having conversations with them. They're very excited about it. I think that it will be an environment where people will be able to, who live in the neighborhood, walk over, eat something. I think we'll have after-school programs for the kids during the school year, not during the baseball season. I think you bring up the point of jobs, which I think is critical. I think we're very excited and have gotten great feedback about implementing our internship program for local kids, not around baseball, but around marketing, around general management, around accounting, all of those functions that will be able to provide kids the opportunity to get exposed to those things just through baseball. It really isn't about baseball. Baseball may be the hook, but it really becomes a catalyst for growth and for these kids to really be exposed to things that they may not have had the opportunity to see before.
Architecturally speaking, what will this stadium look like? Will it have any design elements, perhaps, of a familiar landmark we might know, other stadiums, things like that?
I think that if you can't make a ballpark fun, we're going to take some risks and do something really interesting, creative, and unique, that this becomes a real monument and a draw for the city of Hartford. I think the discussions that have gone on, whether it be with Center Plan or with Hooker, there's enough institutions in this city that I think we can do some really creative, fun things around the ballpark.
Can the stadium be done by the target date?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What about the development around it?
And what's the question is, can that be done by the target date of 4?
By the target date of opening day in 2016, can you get the rest of the development done as well?
Sure. So, Dave kind of alluded to this earlier. There is a comprehensive schedule that we propose as part of our response that shows exactly how the different components of development will come online over time. And so, it's not as though we're going to build out the entire plan with the ballpark so that on April of 16, the entire plan is there. It'll happen in phases and in sequences. So, currently what we're anticipating is obviously the ballpark is first, and parcel E, which is just to the left across Main Street, is going to be the first phase. So that comes online to create that spine on Main Street, creates that center of gravity at Main and Trumbull Street, and then that will be kind of the first phase. And then the build-out will continue going around parcel FG and then to the north BCD. And importantly, the supermarket is incorporated into the first phase.
Gordon, there are some folks who are saying, well, I don't want to go up there, it's dangerous, the whole bit. I live in the city, so I know the reality of that. I'm not afraid to go there. But tell us the reality of that whole neighborhood just north of the highway. You have suburban friends who are leery of it.
I do hear a lot about safety issues from folks that would rather not venture into the city of Hartford, period. But if you've been sort of monitoring the improvements that have happened over the last several years in crime statistics and such, I heard Chief Ravella talk about, at the Raise the Caliber thing that we had in Bushnell Park recently, they were talking about, dramatic improvements in safety in the city of Hartford. So I think people should give it another look. Residents of Hartford sort of see that. They know. They're out. They're walking around, as you know. But I think what we need to do as a group of Hartford residents or Hartford advocates is to talk about those improvements that have, in fact, happened and make it clear that it's much safer than you might have thought.
David, I know Oz mentioned it and Tom earlier, the XL Center. How would a new XL Center fit into that whole plan? Where would it go?
The XL Center, I think, winds up having to, if it stays in Hartford. Remember, CRDA owns all this huge empty property in East Hartford. So if it stays in Hartford, it has to stay in its current location.
So it would have to close for a while if they were to rebuild it.
It would, and it might have to get rid of Church Street as well. I mean, if you really look at the way that thing arranged, I myself can't stand closing public streets. It just chokes the city. But if you're really going to do it, it would wind up having to be there, and you'd wind up probably having to get rid of Church Street and spread it. With sports arenas, what they like to do nowadays is flatten them. You like a long, low angle, and you like your high-paying bar seats right next to the table, right next to the floor. So you'd probably have to spread out. There are cities in the U.S. that have, Phoenix is one, It's got Arena West right next to Cap One in terms of ballparks and arenas. So, I mean, it is functional to have the two pieces at the same time. They butt up against each other. I think it's viable, but again, as I keep sort of alluding to, it's all in the execution and the coordination. If all of these pieces just sort of silo and only talk to themselves, it won't work together. So the Excel Center has to be coordinated. And if I could, the last thing they tried to do in the state was bring together all of our venues under one common roof so we could market the city. That sort of coordination needs to happen again between the ballpark and the XL.
Wouldn't that be a devastating blow to downtown if the XL Center moved across the river?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, in any number, you see how long it takes to develop a piece of land around here. Yeah. Tearing that thing down alone would be costly. It would be deadly if that thing moves. But if we can't figure out a way to do it, if we can't get our act together to be supportive of it, rest assured, just like any developer, somebody's going to say, why should I do the hassle? Why not do the easy thing?
I'm getting the hook from Oz, so just one brief final question for Josh. Do you foresee that the name will change?
Absolutely.
So
it'll be the Hartford.
Will there be a contest? Or?
Yes, there will. We'll probably go reach out to the community and probably the kids of the city of Hartford to have a competition for what the name should be.
I want to thank our panelists, Gordon Scott, David Panagore, Eve George, and Josh Solomon. Thank you. Thank you.
Dennis and everyone, thank you very much. I thought you were asking Josh whether he was going to change his name. I didn't know there was going to be a contest on that or not.
He may have to do that.
Let me just put a little bit of a bow around this, and you've heard this from the mayor, from Bonnie, David, everybody up here. Just keep in mind, in 1998, this place was pretty much a desert in downtown. And when you look at the Roland Ritter-Peters partnership that started the over $1 billion investment that we are the beneficiaries of in many, many ways, including in part in this building. From the Science Center to the G. Fox building to the restaurant scene, pick whatever list of inventory you want. We have come an extraordinarily long way in 18 years. The governor has taken on, under the leadership of CRDA, an additional, as the mayor mentioned, $60 million going into housing. That's dramatically down from $1 billion. Obviously, it's going to cost money to move the Yukon Center in, but we are moving, to David's point, slowly, but deliberately, to a situation where this city becomes more attractive to private sector investment. And the last point that I want to make in terms of the September 17th hearing is it's critical for us as we support this, that we see this as not only a project that we want to see come to reality in its own right, but it to be the harbinger for the next wave that comes behind it in 2017, 2018, and 2019, so that the momentum that has been building over 18 years is sustained for the next 18. To our panelists, thank you very much, Mayor. We appreciate you being here. To Phoenix, thank you for the sponsorship, and Bonnie for being here. Please enjoy the day, and remember, it is a great day to play too. Take care.